Welcome to ICS Arabia. Glad to have Pascal with us today. Finally, caught
Finally,
up with
yeah.
you. Finally, it's been a while. I've been back and forth to, but thank you, Pascal, for joining us today. Really.
Thank
Uh,
you for
so,
being patient, man. We tried this for what, a year and a half to get this organized, and
yes, yes,
I had one or two moves with the family, going house to house. I had a couple of job moves in there, so it's been busy. So there's always an excuse to not make it happen. But today we're here. We're gonna make this thing happen.
yes, indeed. And thank you for that. And thank you for Basim. I'm sure he's watching us for organizing and be patient with you as well.
Yeah, it's appreciated.
Okay, so I know most of the community know you, but maybe some of my region don't know you. In the Middle East. So I would like to introduce you to them. If you could, please, just
Yep.
please.
I'll try to keep it brief because 25 plus years it can be, if I go the wrong path I could show straight to me out if it takes too long. But Pascal Ackerman, born and raised in the Netherlands. I early on in my life I got interested in like electronics, soldering. So I did a technical degree in the university, and as soon as I got out of the university they said forget everything you know about electricity and electrical. There's this new thing called PLC, and they put me out on a project where I think it was an S5, the Siemens S5. This was during the transition where Siemens still had mostly S5 systems out in the world, and they were transitioning to the S7 systems. But I remember going around the world with an EEPROM programmer and reprogramming S5 PLCs all over the place. So that was my first stanchion in the automation world. Did that with a lot of pleasure till about 2003. In the meantime, I had moved my family to the US, was working for a company called Dean Foods, and they kept adding and adding on to the industrial environment, right? And this is production floor connected to the enterprise network, connected to the internet. The manager could go to the Bahamas and look at the production floor from the ocean. It was all beautiful until we started to realize what we had done, and this was when the hackers came to the scene. Things were being popped, and I started to rethink what I did. And actually, I got more interested in the cybersecurity side of things, and I changed careers around the early 2000s, and joined Rockwell Automation, initially in their commercial engineering team, where I helped them define the converged plant-wide Ethernet standards. If you're not familiar with them, they're called the CPWE. It's Panduit, Rockwell, and Cisco who have come together, and they have a whole set of documentations how to best implement network architecture, how to best implement DLS rings, DLS, is that the right thing? DLR rings, I should say, how to best implement like rep rings, architecture from a resiliency and a security perspective. So if you are familiar, or if you're looking into them, the the IDMZ, the industrial demilitarized zone, is my contribution to those efforts. So that was really nice. But after a couple of years, I wanted to be more on the development or deployment side. So I joined their NSS, the Network Security Services team, and that's when things really started to kickstart. I became a cybersecurity consultant, went out to customers, helped them define what their networks look like, started to do pen testing, threat hunting, incident response stuff, and I got more interested in the offensive side. So I left them, and then I joined ThreatGen with our mutual friend Clint Bojanjian over there,
Mhm.
and I built a cybersecurity team, services team within the group there. Did that for a couple of years, and then I moved to a short term with Ernst and Young, where I did something similar, but on a larger scale. But companies like that are too big for me. There's just too much overhead, too many rules, too many regulations. Things don't move fast enough. So after quite a short period, I decided to change careers. Purely offensive this time. Guidepoint Security was looking for a cybersecurity, industrial cybersecurity pen tester. So I joined their team, and on day one they said, "Well, we hired you, but we don't have the service yet." So I started I started building what the service would look like, found out that their customers aren't really necessarily up to speed to do pen testing yet, and it became more of a network architecture review and design type of role than anything else. So that wasn't really what I was looking for. And my last move was with 1898, where they hired me as the global senior threat detection and response engineer, which is a huge title, which basically allows me to go in with a lot of our clients or all of our clients and figure out all of the controls, all of the monitoring solutions they have in place, how to best get all of the information out of there, put it into some sort of a data lake, some sort of a tool that helps us make sense of all of that data and start looking for risk and threats and nuanced attacks within their environment, and actually help them out as well with the remediation and incident response of that stuff.
Okay. All right.
All right, I told you I could go on longer if you want to. You didn't stop
Yeah,
me.
man. Keep going if you want. I mean, because while you're talking, we're getting a sense of so many skills, techniques. The how was OT security back then? It's a bit informative. I mean,
Yeah.
why you talk, because you mentioned some technology and some stuff that maybe they don't exist now, or they've been developed. So
Well,
nice.
when I started with controls engineering, we were still working with proprietary protocols like Modbus before TCP, right? Modbus over
Mm,
serial. We were doing control net and that kind of stuff. All those proprietary protocols and standards and hardware from all of these different vendors. And actually, those were more secure days when you couldn't just jump on a network, send a ping, find a PLC, attack it, and compromise an entire environment. Now, back in the days, you had maybe point-to-point communications between a PLC and HMI. It was over serial. So in order to hack that, you had to be next to the machine, intercepting the serial packets, and then hopefully being able to do something. But as soon as the late 90s, when everything started to move to TCP IP stack, they also became visible to attacker tools that had been on those environments for years and years, or maybe decades already.
Okay. So I mean, in 2010, the Stuxnet. I'm sure you were, I mean, working back then. Did you hear about it? How did you react to it? And
First thing, when we talk Stuxnet, we have to take a drink, and I only drink water,
sure.
but typically we have to do a shot because Stuxnet has been so overused, so
Yeah.
overhyped by so many people. But it did set a trend towards more aggressive attacks on industrial environments, right? The people open up the eyes of people were open up that the possibility of attacks on industrial environments here from the other side of the world through a air gapped installation. They were able to bring down centrifuges that were crucial for doing the uranium processing. That was
Yeah.
eye-opening, and we've seen things escalate ever since, right? So you had Stuxnet, which was the first thing to happen, and we had a couple years nothing, and then something happened, and then the time between really ICS exposure and ICS attacks is getting shorter and shorter because more and more adversaries are jumping on the bandwagon.
Okay. Also, before we leave your bio, you said that you were interested in cybersecurity. What was your major? Are you engineer or IT?
I have a master's degree in electrical engineering. So
Uh,
I was trained in building circuits, IC integrated circuits. My end project for school was a device that would sit on the phone line, like the regular phone line, and if you
all
would
right.
call it, it would give you a message saying, "Give me the code." And there's a code in there, and then once you're in, you are able to turn on the light, do anything that could be controlled by a relay or a simple 4 to 20 milliamp output. So that's what I majored in.
And so you are self-taught in when it comes to IT and
Yep.
cybersecurity.
Yeah. OT,
Very
of course, came pretty naturally because you go
good.
electrical. My first job was with a large manufacturing of OEM equipment, and they brought me on board then. but then as soon as they did the PLC, the electronics is maybe what you connect to an input or an output card, but much further from that, it's all devices, right? You plug something in, if it breaks, you throw away the device, you put a new device in there, and you move on. So it's not going in and opening these things anymore and fixing them on a component level.
Okay. And you have, I think, 2 books, right, or 3?
Officially 3 books. So
3 books. Yeah,
back 2012, I think, I was on a vacation in Mexico, and Pack Publishing pinged me because I had been posting all these articles about ICS security, and they said we need somebody to write a book about it. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And long story short, it's not going to make you rich to write a book, but it does help you open doors, and when you talk for the next job interview, it does help to have that out there. Really, really nice. Took me about a year to get to write the book. It's focused on a beginning journey into ICS security. So what's ICS? What's a PLC? What's an HMI? How do they communicate? How did they used to communicate? And how do they communicate nowadays, right? So the serial to Ethernet conversion, and what kind of a risk does it bring with them? It also defines how to set up your security program, which standards they're out there, which standards you should use. So that's really, I have nothing and I want to get started on ICS security. That's book number 1. And then Pack Publishing, after a year or 2, they said, hey, we want you to write a second edition. And I kept telling them, no, I don't want a second edition. There's nothing new or improved to tell about this, but there is a lot more to the story. So the second edition is actually a second volume of the book, and I'm going more into verification of your cybersecurity program with threat hunting, with pen testing, and also a little bit of incident response. Of course, that's tied to it. But figuring out that what you've done, is it really good? Because just because you have an antivirus scanner out there doesn't mean it's going to pick up everything. So with threat hunting, you're going to go out to your systems. Hey, we see these executables that all of a sudden are starting up with Windows. Let's see if they're malicious. Let's upload them to a virus total. Let's do a reverse engineering on them and see what they do, and therefore validating if your antivirus solution is still properly working.
Interesting. Yeah, we will come back to threat hunting because I have your books. I have both of them right now sitting next to me, and I advise. Yeah, that's the one here. That's.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That's a workout picking that thing up.
Yeah, I bought it when it came out, and I have this.
Yep.
So yeah, I have plenty of ICS books here, and because I've started not as early as you, but I started in 2012 as part of my research program. I did my PhD in Liverpool, writing a thesis. Yeah, my thesis was about OT security, so it wasn't called OT security. Yes. So that's when I started in 2012. So I came from a research background when I started, but then eventually, slowly, I became more technical.
Welcome. We need all the people we can get in this field, because I think we're only seeing the beginning of what's possible, right? With I don't know if we're going to go this way, but with AI, with current events, with world struggles, we're going to see more and more attacks on cybersecurity, because you see the precursor in the Ukraine and Iran and Venezuela. First thing they do is turn off the lights, turn off the pump, turn off the energy, and then they're going to go in and do whatever they're doing. But yeah, we're going to see more of that, I'm pretty sure.
And as you remember, in 2012 there wasn't so many resources like now, so I had to buy all the ICS books I can find, which is your books and Clint's books as well. Yeah, here it is. That's the one. Yeah, and other books, for other authors, because there wasn't AI, there wasn't LinkedIn wasn't active back then, 2012. So I had to gather as much books as possible and academic papers as well to do my research. And but now, what do you think? Now AI is here, and pretty much it can teach you anything. Do you think we still need to buy books, especially in our area, in our domain?
I think so. Yeah, just because reading a book
Mm.
gets you in a different mindset. So AI has got its place in cybersecurity and to a degree in automation, in my opinion. I think using AI to quickly say, "Hey, how would I scan an OT environment with Nmap?" And then it's going to tell you all the flags, all of the cautions,
Mhm.
and hopefully you got a good AI agent that says, "Hey, make
Mm.
sure you do it low and slow, or make sure that you're not in production for that."
Yes.
But that's how I can see AI helping. What I don't think is very sensitive or smart is just putting AI behind the Nmap instance and
Mm.
have it scan and then have it follow up with Metasploit, have it follow up with exploits, do everything automatic for you because you lose the touch. And especially in industrial environments, it's
Mhm.
easy to break stuff. So if you're gonna let an AI bull loose in the China shop, you know you're gonna break something.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and also the book maybe gives you better, maybe structure and with the human touch
Yeah.
experience.
And sometimes you don't know what you don't know yet, right? So and a
Yes.
book will go like, okay, this is ICS. These are the things that can go wrong, and
Mm.
these are the things that we can use
Mm.
to verify the security of
Yes.
it. And then you, after reading the book, you're like, okay, give me a little bit more on this security engine tool. And that's, I think AI will be good. AI can summarize, yeah, it was built then, it does this, it has these kind of plugins for OT, and you can deploy it in such a way. So I think that helps. But the deployment itself, I think, should be a human interaction because you don't want just something deploying it, configuring it to the way that it thinks is best. And AI, I don't know if how much you played with it, but AI is always saying, "Yeah, man, I did a great job." And then you tell it, "No, you didn't." "Oh, yeah, you're right. I did a terrible job." "You're right." It's always friendly
Yes.
and so
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes AI doesn't give you the whole thing that you need to learn as a structure because he guesses this is the right way, but a book maybe comes from expert will show you what you don't know, like you said,
yep,
which is important.
yep.
Okay. I heard, or maybe you tell us, you are a digital nomad, right?
Less so nowadays, but for a while there, and especially during the Rockwell, when I was working for Rockwell, traveling a lot, I would be on the road 70, 80, 90% of the time. So
Mm.
there was one year where they sent me around the world in 99 days, I think, and so no coming back. I went from the US to Belgium, to pardon, I'm starting to forget. So Belgium, the Mediterranean area. We went to Australia, China, a lot of places. So they hopped me around for a project because this customer had facilities all over the world. But
Mm.
instead of flying out and then coming back, flying out, coming back, and
Yes.
wasting a lot of time, I talked the company into letting me take my family with me. So we did a 99-day around the world with the whole family, seeing places like Beijing and
Oh,
the what is it, the south coast, half of the south coast of Australia and stuff like that. So that was fantastic. That was my pure digital nomad days. And nowadays, yeah, I'll get out to customers maybe once a month, fly out. I'm going to Houston a lot. That's where my company has a OT specific SOC, and they call it the ATPC, or the Advanced Threat Protection Center. So that's where we first first foremost we do OT security monitoring. But of course, OT doesn't live in a vacuum. There's always some sort of an IT component on it. We'll do that
yeah.
as well. But that's where we have the main office, and every once in a while I go there and make sure that I show my face and they still know who they're signing their checks to.
Nice. So do you prefer the digital nomad way or the
Depends.
interaction? Yeah.
Depends, right? Like in the winter time here in Montana, when there's 4 feet of snow and you can't go anywhere, I'd rather be somewhere where it's warmer and do some traveling. But then during the summertime, there's so much to do, there's so much to see, and there's so much outdoors here. Then I really don't want to travel at that point.
Mm. Okay. Cool. All right. Um, so how was your journey back then when you started? Because I noticed that you don't have so many courses, so many. I don't know if you have or not, but d- did you learn on the project while you're doing projects, or did you just learn and then apply
Hmm.
the project? How was your journey? Like,
So when at some point I got interested in cybersecurity, it was like 2001, 2002, and like you were having trouble finding OT industrial cybersecurity books. I was having trouble finding IT cybersecurity books. I think there was one book by Symantec on how to build or reverse engineer malware. That was about the only cybersecurity book there was. So I I went to a bulletin board sites, RSS feeds, finding anything to find IT specific cybersecurity resources. And then I started to apply those on OT systems at work. And I've had a few conversations with the IT department where they almost fired me because I was messing around with too much and setting too much bells. I never caused production downtime or anything. I didn't have to. Their own team did that. That's a whole different story. But I came in one morning and a production server was completely gone. Somebody had written a ticket to delete the server and hadn't really verified with the site if that server was actually ready to be decommissioned. But they just deleted it overnight. You come in the morning, it was gone, and then you have to deal with it. And it took me 48 hours to recover from that. But that's okay. That's a different story. But I was doing these things, getting resources from anywhere I want. And then at some point, I'm like, okay, I want to get serious in this. We had an infiltration, some virus had a virus outbreak had taken down the entire organization. So our 13 facilities were crippled because there was a virus that transferred over the mechanism that Symantec did updates, right? So I remember coming in the morning and they gave me a CD and we went to every single station updating to the latest Symantec antivirus, and then it found the virus and recovered from that. But in order to really get down and find every single station that was infected, they brought in a slick team, white hat hackers who came in with all their tools and the bells and whistles, and I was so intrigued, and I just followed them the whole time they were there. And at the end, they gave me a copy of not Metasploit, Kali Linux. It was
Oh,
what was it called back in the day?
yeah,
Backtrack.
backtrack.
They gave me, and that really got me. And they said, if you really want to get serious, get your CISSP, right? So I looked into what the CISSP entails, and you had to have all kinds of knowledge of all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
instead of going for that right away, I started with my Network Plus. How does a
Oh,
network work? How does this packet go from here to the Google website?
mm,
Network Plus is perfect for that. And as soon as I was done with that, I did the Security Plus, which also a really, really good, valid certificate to get started in cybersecurity. Then I decided to do the CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker,
mhm,
back then. Uh, yeah, it was a fun learning experience. I don't think the certificate is actually that valuable anymore these days. But
mm,
after that, I felt I was ready for the CISSP, which is, in my opinion, the most brutal exam I've ever done.
oh,
250, 250 questions. I think you get like 5 or 6 hours to work on it. And it ranges anywhere from encryption to security program development. And it's right
oh,
anywhere from writing a snort rule all the way to figuring out what is the best cabling to use in your ceiling so that your Cat 6 cables don't burn up during a fire. And honestly, I was sitting in that exam room, and after about 3 hours, somebody stood up, started crying, and ran out of the door. I'm like,
oh,
oh my God.
you panicked.
I don't know how I did it, but I passed the exam. They don't even give you a score, but yeah,
It's just
that
possible.
was that was my path forward. Work did allow me to get my CCNA. In my opinion, that is memorizing A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, A, E, C, and then you pass the exam. That's that because it repeats the same exam over and over again. So once you know the answers, you get
Oh,
through it. So figure out your own. Again, the study material for it is fantastic, right? The books studying for your CCNA will cover all of the basics of layers 1, 2, 3 in the OSI model. So that was very useful, but the exam itself was worthless
yeah.
in my opinion.
So because you trained yourself, maybe the hard way, the long way, because there wasn't so many resources, mentors maybe. How would you advise somebody based on your experience now to start and get into the field?
Yep.
Like,
I made the classic mistake. I don't know if it's a classic, but I made the mistake to go really broad. So when I started, I wanted to know everything about cybersecurity. So I did everything cybersecurity on the IT side, like CSSP, following every single aspect, every single topic. And then that didn't give me time to really dig into anything specific. Even when I switched to OT, I wanted to know everything, right? All of the protocols, all of the attacks, and still IT is still part of it. So ARP attacks, man in the middle attacks also still make sense on the OT space. So I wanted to learn everything. It isn't until recently that I started to more specialize in network security, network attacks, and more of the IoT and the hardware hacking. So find your passion early on, and start studying towards that. And yeah, do a lot of studying, set up your own lab, create your own GitHub repository, start researching some of these things, start publishing, start working with the community on next steps with that not only gets you familiar with the topics, get you familiar with the industry, get you familiar with the other people who are doing it, but eventually when you're going out to find that job, they'll be like, what have you done to better yourself? You'll be like, well, I've done certifications, I've done self-study, and I've done this repository that people are actually using to find mayhem in their environment, right? So that looks really good on the resume. That really looks really good while you're having a job interview.
nice. Talking about the lab, I mean, they call you the lab. I mean, I heard the crazy lab. I'm not sure. Really, they call you. Why they called your lab the crazy lab? Is it
I
because
I
the
I have
second
a
book I saw
yeah.
your lab the description in the second book, and it's quiet, and you bought it from eBay.
Yep. And
It's a big.
that's my kryptonite is eBay. So I'll go on eBay and I'm trying to find a PLC and I'll be like, oh man, I don't want to spend $400 on a PLC. But then there's a $200 Dell server you can pick up, and you can find Python modules that emulate a PLC completely, or maybe some software version, right? Open PLC, and it's not completely the real thing, but it's also not breaking the bank when you buy it. So I've done that a few times, and I think I'm up to about 10 Dell, HP, and Cisco servers, all combined into some sort of a Proxmox cluster. So I can really scale from a single PC to like a complete internet-driven, fully you call that full Purdue model stack, all the way from level 0 all the way to the cloud, right? Because a lot of people are struggling these days on how to tie that into the cloud. So
Yeah.
I build it in the lab, and that's what I'm actually experimenting with these days.
Today we have very two labs famous in our community. You know, Lab Shock and the other one for David. It's called
I
GG. Yeah.
It's called what?
We have Lab Shock now in
Hmm.
in our community. If you heard about it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love LabShock. We actually
Yes.
we invested in its bigger brother,
Mm.
Fortified. So Fortified is the commercial
And 45. Yep.
product. Yep.
Yep.
So we got that
Two.
in the lab. So if we have customers that say, hey, we want to compare Clarity to Nozomi, Dragos, to Tenable, we can throw it into the fortified environment. We can change the fortified environment to look as closely as possible to the client's environment. Do they have a refinery? Do they have a electrical grid? Do they have a substation? So we can spin up those scenarios, and they're not going to be one to one, but we're going to be pretty close, and we're going to show them this is what Dragos is going to show you if you would deploy it in your environment versus what a Nozomi is going to deploy, or a Clarity, so they can have a comparison and they can best decide on which solution is best for their environment.
Oh, so now you, with your customers, you are using virtualized labs
Yes. Yep.
to
And I'm
showcase.
and I'm trying to get our pen testing team access to the same environment as well. So I'd love to see our pen testing team trying to infiltrate in those fortified environments, while maybe our threat hunting and our incident response teams keep our eyes on it, and see if they can catch them doing it.
Nice. So I mean, for somebody who wants to learn and improve his skills, he can just use virtualized instead of buying the equipment, or which
Yes.
one do you
Uh,
prefer? Uh,
I would go virtualized, like a lab shock. If you have the
mm,
money for a fortified, because it's more, there's more bells and whistles. It's the newer technology. It's got the latest and greatest virtualization. It's got the latest scenarios. You get support with it. But if you can't afford that, LabShock is actually a really good replacement. Like I said,
mm,
it's a generation behind Fortified, but
mm.
most scenarios you can do. You can still have a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's only 1 year old, so yeah, it's improving every time I
Yep.
check it out. I see new features. Cool, man. Okay, let's let's see. Go and switch. Are you following up with the current threats happening in OT security, like the APTs and that are specialized in OT? Do,
Yes. As part of my function, I'm responsible of keeping an eye on current events in the latest vulnerabilities, the latest attacks, the latest threats in ICS environments. So
yes.
I spend at least an hour a day going through news feeds, looking at articles, reading through it, and then also the interesting ones I'm converting to advisories that we post on our 1898 website. Uh, the newest endeavor that I'm doing, along with those advisories, I'm writing threat hunt plans. So let's say we find the latest vulnerability for a Siemens PLC, where somebody on the same network can go to the PLC, send a packet to it, and crash it, or maybe exploit it. Having that knowledge, having that article, we turn it in an advisory where we tell our clients, hey, this is what's going on, these are our recommended remediations, do you update, do network monitoring. But internally, I'm building a threat hunt plan where my threat hunt team will go around for our customers and clients and will find if that is going on in their environment, right? That's a
Mm,
service that we've been doing and continue to do uh, uh, as part of our ATPC services.
mm.
Now I'm thinking to take those threat hunt plans and maybe do something more communal with them. Maybe set up a weekly article dump where I take one or two of them and I explain how to implement them, how to do the threat hunting within your environment as well.
Excellent. Currently, we have a situation now in the Gulf. I mean, I live in Kuwait, and we have, the situation now, the war, and there are some APTs. They are specialized for OT, like the one called pyroxene, and the other one is called bento. So both of them are, target OT equipment. How would you advise somebody maybe in the Middle East here, say in the Gulf, who have OT facilities, threat hunt these and or detect those APTs, whether through the SOC or through hunting, threat hunting, or how would
Yeah,
you
no,
advise? Yeah.
both of those are very valid resources of keeping an eye on this, right? So your SOC should be the first line of defense. They should be looking for all of the IOC, all of the indicators of compromise that
Mm,
are out there already. And if you do a simple Google search, you will find numerous articles detailing the attacks coming from these APTs and coming from the Iran war. Find those
mm,
IOC, add them to your SOC responsibilities, and start looking for them. In the meantime, you take those same articles and you turn them into a threat hunt plan where you say, okay, for your APT 74 or whatever that is, their techniques are XYZ. For those
yes.
techniques, right, and you can tie them to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Those
Mm,
techniques are well defined and they have well defined threat hunt activities within the
mm,
MITRE ATT&CK. So if you go to MITRE ATT&CK,
mm,
APT 74 uses technique 12. Technique 12 can be detected by looking at your event system, by looking at your network logs and finding anything that sends uh, a TCP flag XYZ to it, right? So that's how you attack that. And then once you've defined that plan, you'll have your analyst going out and getting the information and doing an analysis on the information.
Okay. From your experience, I don't know if you've worked with the Middle East. Have you worked with the Middle East before?
I've
Companies.
been to Abu Dhabi. If you've
All
been
right.
to the new Warner Brother amusement park there during my time with Rockwell, they sent me over there to
All right.
help out, uh, make the wireless work for the Batman ride. So if you did the Batman ride over there, and it did get stuck, I'm sorry, but we were trying to prevent that. So
Okay.
that's my only time I've been to the Middle East.
So, what are the common mistakes that companies do regarding SOCs and threat hunting, or how would you advise them? How would they do it properly?
So the biggest mistake I see in that is that these companies will say we have an IT SOC, we have an IT threat hunt team, we have an IT pen test team. They should do OT now all of a sudden, unless you
Okay.
have significant resources to train them and to get the mindset differently. That's not going to work because just a simple example. If on the IT side you see a packet on the network that is destined or is aimed for an IP address and port number 2222, on the
Mhm.
IT side, that's actually a remote access Trojan. But on the OT side, 2222, that port number, that TCP port number is Rockwell's IO channel. So
Okay.
they use it. So the first time you get an IT pen tester or a IT threat hunter looking on an OT environment, be like, man, you got remote access Trojans all over the place here. So that mindset has to be changed.
Mm.
More so when you do find something, let's say, oh my God, we found ransomware on one of the HMIs. Typically on the IT side, you'll be like, yank the cable, replace the device, and move on. On the OT side, that HMI might be doing some critical function, right? Without that HMI, I can't stop my boiler from going over pressure, or I can't do any controls anymore. So you might have to step back and figure out, is this thing still usable for what we want to do with it? If so, maybe we shouldn't tackle it until we're done with production. Or if it's completely unfunctional, you're going to have to come up with a way to have a different device do that function before you replace it. So it's the mindset more than mindset, and the skill set. It's different between IT and OT.
I see. Totally agree. I think you once mentioned that monitoring is useless if no one is looking at the data.
Yep. So typically when you start, and I think I start my the first book with this, is that if you're gonna begin on this journey, make sure you're willing to stick with it, right?
Mm.
Just installing a security onion, just installing a Dragos Nozomi Clarity, and not looking at it is useless. So if you're going to invest in a network security monitoring solution, also invest in people who can look at the data and react to it. React is maybe the most important even, right? Because somebody can say, oh my God, I'm seeing something weird. Who's going to respond? Right? This PLC has been communicating with some Chinese IP address overnight. What is going on? Is it valid? Is it right? What kind of PLC it is? Maybe it was a PLC that we bought from a Chinese company and it's just checking in. Or maybe it is compromised and it's checking in with an attacker every once in a while.
Mm. I get it. So, what makes a good visibility?
Organized so that so what you see makes sense. Get a good baseline going. And especially in OT, this is super easy, right? Because OT environments are built to be there for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and not change. So if there
Mm.
is a change, that stands out as a sore thumb, as a sore, that really stands out. So get your baseline. I know I have 4 PLCs, 5 HMIs. Two of those HMIs are always communicating with these PLCs. The other HMIs are hardly doing it. And all of a sudden,
Mhm.
that there's an uptick. Those other HMIs are starting to communicate more with the PLCs. What's happening? So those kind of things stand out.
Mhm. Okay. Um, Regarding the colonial pipes, you analyzed the colonial pipe incident in
Hmm.
depth. Years
Everybody
later, do
did.
you?
Everybody did.
Yeah, okay. Do you think the industry actually learned from it?
Yes, I think it was a wake-up call. I'm glad that most people didn't look much further than the surface, because if you really dug into it, it wasn't an OT ICS attack, right? It was some payment system that got attacked, and because they were afraid they weren't going to be able to bill people and they couldn't control their accounting team, they shut the OT side down. I think that should be the takeaway from all of this, is that you should build your environment so that OT can live without the IT system in
Mhm.
place. So if let's say you do a batch, maybe you do a batch production of your goods. So every once in a while, you got to talk to the IT systems, your MES, your ERP system, and said, "What do you want me to work on for the next 5 hours?" That should be the only interaction you have at that point. After that, you should be able to cut the tie between IT and OT and run OT on, until you run out of that batch file. You'd be like, "Okay, I don't know what to do next." So we'd have to communicate with the IT. So really solidly defined OT environments will have the discussion is then the discussion around how long do I want to be able to limp on the OT side. If I have to cut that tie between the two, how long can I run on the OT side before I really have to get the next production batch, the next information out of it? And depending on the answer, that could be a really cheap solution or really expensive if you need to start building databases on both sides, doing synchronization. But the better you do that, the more you're resilient you are to have an attacks on the IT side not affect your production.
Cool. Okay. There's been always a debate in the community. Maybe you've noticed that this is not an OT attack. This is an IT attack. What do you think of this debate? I mean,
I, I said that on the Colonial Pipeline as well. In the end, we ran out of gas. We had to stop the production. So an attack on the IT side, and keep in mind, most of these companies they started as an OT company, and then
yeah.
over time, more and more overhead, email, billing, customer portals, websites, all of these got added to the IT side. So you go from a pure OT company, and now you got all the bells and whistles adding way more on the IT side, so that the attack vector on the IT side is much larger than the OT side. As a matter of fact, if you do your segmentation right, your OT should be a shielded bubble that you can't see unless you go through IT. So attack on an IT being successful to the point where you have to shut down your production floor is still an
Mm.
OT attack, in my opinion.
Oh, all right. Uh, you say that ICS is insecure by inheritance. Uh, I think you said it once. Uh, yeah, and what is the one legacy mistake that must be avoided?
The AAA, so authentication, authorization, and accounting, is never was never built into OT protocols, OT systems, OT devices. Like I said earlier, when OT started, when we first started to have control systems, right after the relay, of course, the best you could hope for in a way of having distributed I/O, distributed control systems, was serial links. You had an HMI talking serial to a controller. You had the controller talking to another controller. Maybe if you're lucky, you had something like device net or control net, so you could have multiple. But it wasn't these wide-reaching protocols like the Ethernet IP TCP stack, TCP IP stack. When we implemented those in the late 90s, the ICS vendors took the serial communication protocol that had no authentication, that had no encryption or anything, and they ported those on top of TCP/IP. Now all of that critical information is running over the network for anybody with a packet sniffer to see. Furthermore, because we're not validating these packets, we're not saying, hey, the checksum of this packet isn't correct. It changed over time. Now an attacker can change some of these values within a packet while it traverses the network, and you could change things on a HMI or even a PLC level. I wrote an article a couple of years back where I proved that you can intercept RSView SE packets between an RSView SE server and an RSView SE client. I was sitting with a man in the middle. I think I was sitting in the middle, and I was changing the tag values for certain temperatures and pressures. So even though the boiler said I'm at 100 degrees, the HMI said no, you're at 10 degrees, and then hoping that the operator would say, oh, let's add a little bit of steam, get the pressure up, and then in the meantime I'm still showing, oh yeah, well maybe now you're at 11, but in the meantime that boiler is at 400, 500 degrees, and the operator keeps pushing on it. So that stuff is possible because of the inherent insecurity.
So you were proving that your version of Stuxnet manipulating.
Yeah, Stuxnet operate a little bit different, but yes.
Manipulating the visibility and readings. All right. Interesting. What do you think for organizations that cannot afford the commercial OT solutions? Do you think open source could be a good alternative, good choice?
Absolutely. Again, I would rather have open source software and a dedicated team to go after anything the open source finds or anything that's wrong with the open source solution than to have a multi-million-dollar deployment of one of the NSM network security monitoring systems out there and nobody's using it. Right? I think if properly supported, going the open source route might be more beneficial for some situations where you actually really dig in. You dedicate a team to making this solution work for your environment. You dedicate a team to follow up on any findings and anything that comes out of it, versus having a vendor who you call and like, hey man, this thing is not working. I haven't seen any packet come out of it in a long time, and then hopefully they fix it, hopefully not. By the time you do get a solution, then you lost a lot of information already.
Do you think the companies are doing that in reality? They are moving to open source or still?
No, I think most. Keep in mind, we're talking production and production facilities. There are people who have forever. All they've done is build a product, do a service, get this product out the door, get this service out the door, keep the customers happy, keep the light on. So they don't have the affinity or the desire to go into cybersecurity. They'll go like, okay, who's best suited in our environment to do network security monitoring? It's Dragos, it's Nozomi, it's Clarity. Let's bring him in.
Okay, yeah, because maybe they don't have the team, right? And yeah. So do you think, do you advise them to make a team for that if they could?
I think outsourcing the software to an NSM vendor is perfectly fine, but then concentrate on the people who support the installation, who can jump on any of the findings, right? And especially in the beginning, you're going to get a lot of information out of it. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's wrong in your environment. So having a dedicated team that from day one can say, okay, this is a true finding. It's not a false positive. It's a true finding. We're going to prioritize. We're going to address it. We're going to give feedback to the solution, and we're going to redo it over and over again until we get to a state where either everything is addressed, which is never going to happen, or we've addressed all of the risk that's very important to us, and we've mitigated or dealt with the remaining risk in some other way.
Okay. Do you find yourself? I mean, you in your bio you said you are a hacker, and Pentesters. Do you like being? Do you like the offensive side more than the defensive side, or?
It really depends on the month, the year. So like if you look through
Right.
if you look over my career, I started with controls engineer. Then I got more interested in the network side of things. Then I got more interested in the network security side of things. And as I progressed through my jobs, I changed heads a little bit. So uh, I love finding those needles in a haystack. I think I'm in a really good place where I can help a lot of customers and see a lot of data, see a lot of attacks, see a lot of threats coming. But in the weekend after hours, I will go and open up some of the IoT devices that I picked up from a thrift store and see if I can break some of the encryption keys and stuff that are on there. So
So that's your hobby. That's
that's
what
my
you like.
hobby. Yeah,
Break stuff and hack stuff and.
yeah.
All right.
Which is better than doing it in real life and then having upset customers like, oh, why did you break my PLC? I'm like,
All right. Do you think those skills are in demand in the current market, like pen testing, red teaming,
yeah,
hacking? Do you think they are in demand right now, or
yeah.
how is the
I
market? How is the market?
I
Yeah.
I think most demand is still for the fundamental, the basic network segmentation, network controls,
Yeah.
AAA implementation, making sure vulnerability management, all that stuff. But slowly the trend, and especially the companies that have done this for a few years now, they're starting to say, okay, we've done the program development, we've looked at segmentation, we've got monitoring in place, we got a SOC that's dedicated to OT. Bring it on. Give me a red team, give me a pen test assessment, and let's see where we stand. Now,
Cool.
the flip side, if you haven't done your homework yet, you don't have a security program, you have a flat network, I don't think you're ready for a pen test because you go in and you'll be like, yep, I send one command, a PLC is down, job done.
So it's like maturity.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it is. It's exactly maturity.
Yeah, they have to start with the basics and defense, and then
Yep.
they hire for the services. Uh, Maybe the US maybe is the biggest market. I'm not sure in OT security. I'm not sure about that. You can tell me about it. How is the market now? What is good? The products, the services, especially now AI is there, and AI can help you create softwares and products. What do you think is happening in the market now?
I think I'm still seeing 80 to 90% of the projects are the fundamental stuff, doing a network security validation assessment, doing a maturity verification. Right, you go to a customer and they'll be like, okay, we want to adhere to the NIST cybersecurity framework standard. And then you do a comparison. Where do you are? Where do you want to be? The deficit is where you're going to put your dollars into doing that. Um, on the other side, I do see more and more requests for pen testing, threat hunting within the ICS environment. So that is an uptick. But like I said, most of the work is still that fundamental architecture reviews, deployment of one of the network security solutions and stuff like that. I think that's going to be for a couple more years.
Mhm.
And hopefully by then we got this AI thing sorted out and we can start to look at how to secure in industrial environments against AI.
Is the market saturated in the US or Europe for doing these kind of services, or there are still demand and there is still space for?
I think there's enough organizations that provide the services, but I do think there's still a lot of young talent that needs to be placed. There's still room for people to go out and start with these organizations. Although it isn't as crazy as it was like 5 years ago.
How was it 5 years ago?
5 years ago, there was almost bidding wars for people with OT security skills, where
Mm.
you were insane amount of salaries were throwing at people because they just couldn't get enough bodies to fill those positions. So that has changed a little bit.
So there are more skillful people right now than they used to.
Or or most of those positions have been filled by skilled people.
Okay, okay. So all right. Uh, so, what's your expectations of the OT market? Maybe in the next 5, 10 years.
Um, I'm gonna see a. I think I'm gonna see a big push for the core fundamental ICS equipment to go to the cloud, right?
Oh, yeah.
Already seeing the analytics go to the cloud, Aviva, Pi, it's all going to the cloud. I think that's a fantastic way of doing it because you're bringing the computational resources from a cloud infrastructure to help out with some of these demands. I wouldn't take it any further. I would do analytics from a advisory perspective, not from a controls perspective. So having an Aviva, having a Pi, having some sort of report that says, hey, you've been running lean on this particular thing. If you would to change this one setting, then you're gonna be more effective.
Hmm.
But somebody has to make that decision. Yeah, that's a good decision to make that change. But having some sort of an automated control that says, hey, I'm looking at this trend, I'm gonna change this just to manipulate. I just don't see that going well in the long run.
Hmm. So, like they said, I mean, with the AI and the data analytics, there will be a need for human judgment more than ever.
Yeah, more verification than anything.
Yeah.
Have AI do all of the grunt work, all of the analytics that normally is very tedious for a person to do. But the decision making should be a human entity, ideally somebody who knows the process, right? Somebody who has worked either on the production or the engineering side of a facility for a long time that looks at the trend and says, "Yeah, we are running very lean. I will make this change to this set point."
Okay. Are you planning to write a book in the future or?
Uh yeah, I think there's a third book still in me. I did write a third book on more of IT, cybersecurity, uh,
Mhm.
not as known as the other two, but I think there's going to be a volume three. If Peck Publishing is listening, we're going to make it a volume. I'm not going to do another edition, but the volume three, which is going to be IoT security or more IIoT. I hate to use the term IIoT because it's all IoT anyway at that point. But IoT security, all the way from fundamentally how do you do IoT in your industrial environment to taking one of those devices apart, taking the firmware off of a chip and finding some keys, turning that around and owning a PLC. So that's still there. When? I don't know. I just that's I want to complete the series that way.
Yeah. Always hacking stuff. Do you think hardware hacking is important skill in the domain? And do we need more skillful people on this?
Yes, absolutely. Because we'll find more and more where
Mm.
is it service as a solution where you're not paying for the device, you're paying for the server that's running on device. So you get a subscription with a company, they ship you out a box, whatever it does.
Yeah.
But that box is sitting in your environment. So
Yeah.
if I am what's stopping me from opening it up, looking for secrets in the memory or in the firmware within that device and doing that. So I think being able to do a proper job securing those is going to be important.
Is there a market for it? Do companies request them or
Yes, yes.
hardware hacking? All right.
But
Yeah.
hardware, call it IoT hacking. So Internet of Thing devices, right, where you have the whole infrastructure living in the cloud, where you have a feeler at your customer, maybe an
Mm.
aggregator uh, in the area, and then from there you go to a corporate database. Being able to secure that from a hardware and an IoT services perspective is going to be the future.
Wow. So you think the hardware security is in the future? You think
Yeah,
it's coming? All right.
hardware as being IoT. So
IoT.
hardware being part of the IoT
And
security landscape.
and what skills do you need to be good at that? And where can somebody learn that?
Ooh, yeah, that gets a little bit complicated. So you got to be good at electronics. You got to be good at reverse engineering firmware. You got to be good at.
Wow.
There's going to be a lot of assembly code because we're talking
Oh,
low level protocols, right? You're ripping binary code off of a chip, and then you got to figure out what it is. And there's plenty of tools out there that can help you figure out what the firmware, what that blob of data is. There, I haven't found, and maybe nowadays there is, but I haven't found a good IoT uh, hacking course
so,
yet. I believe the OSCP guys are doing something in along those lines. I've seen some startups trying to do it, but there isn't. And
wow.
correct me if I'm wrong. Your viewers, your listeners, correct me if I'm wrong. But I haven't seen anything that has really solidified the IoT pen test, IoT hacking certificate need or requirement yet.
It's still new, maybe.
Yes.
And not even Black Hat and DEF CON, they don't have these courses.
Well, they do, but it's nothing that will get you through a gradual process, right? Where you spend a few months learning, you take an exam, you get a certification, you prove that you've done it. I haven't seen those on a large scale yet.
Mm. And do you think this applies to PLC as well and other hardware, or not much?
Absolutely. Uh,
Mm.
there's PLCs all over the place,
All
and most
done.
of them are not being updated very often. So,
So it's
and
a steep,
to say what?
very steep. It's a very steep skill. It's not something you can learn fast. You have
Yep.
to give
And
it
and
time.
and PLCs are not so much from an IoT and a hardware hacking perspective because by the time you reach that PLC to start hacking it, you're
Mm.
already inside of a production facility. And if I'm inside of an electrical cabinet next to a functioning machine, I might as well just rip out the PLC and everything goes down anyway.
Yeah.
But but the IoT that's in that same facility doesn't adhere to the same standards yet. The IoT will be bolted onto the side of a machine. They bought
Yeah.
it from some vendor who says, "Hey, in order for this to function, you have to have our IoT gateway that communicates with our cloud
Oh,
infrastructure, and that way we're getting all of the information." What you don't know is that in the meantime, their cloud infrastructure was compromised, and they now have a VPN tunnel into your PLC network. So it's that kind of stuff that we will be dealing with in the foreseeable future here.
wow. So those are the new challenges that are coming
Yep, not
in the
coming,
future.
they're here.
They are
I've
here.
done
They are here. Yeah.
I've been in environments where that was happening, and I've done IoT pen test engagement where I pointed out to the customer like or to the vendor of those devices like, okay, this has got a UART port. I plug in my UART, my serial connection, and now I have a terminal, an admin terminal session with this device, which is connected to your database. So if I were to send this command, I
Wow.
would wipe your database. And it'd be like,
Wow.
oh my God, we hadn't thought about that. And these are devices that are sitting either next to your home, right? Because they're monitoring some your power meter, or they're sitting in your community where they collect several of these meters. Makes it a little bit harder because you got to go and get some stairs and walk up to it, and hopefully nobody sees you get to that device. But it is out there, and these ports are wide open for anybody to connect to.
Yeah, and there's so many of them exposed on the internet. Those
That,
IoTs.
yes, that's a whole different. That's a good point. Actually, you can go to Shodan, find one
Yeah.
of those IoT devices. They have a vulnerable management interface. Now, in the background, they have two or three Ethernet connections, right? So you come in through the internet, and then because you're on the device now, you can use the routing internally to get to one of their internal systems.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. This is.
Again, is that clearly an OT attack? No, really. I stumbled across an IoT device which gave me access to an OT network, and now it's becoming an OT network attack.
Wow. So yeah, and it's like jumping from zone to
Yep.
zone. Even if they say we don't have any OT exposed, the IoT,
Uh,
they forget they have IoT.
Yep. Oh, and oftentimes they forget OT is exposed as well. If you go to shodan.io and just
Yep.
do a search for port 44 for 44818, which is the programming terminal interface port for Rockwell Automation, you'll find probably 10,000 exposed IP addresses. And all you got to do is connect your RS Logics to that public IP address, and you can start programming their PLC. So it's still out there even to this day.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. I mean, yeah, I've read your articles about those things, especially the Modbus and how you hack the Modbus if it's exposed.
Yeah. Now there's another one out there, and I might repost that, but it's basically how to figure out if you have devices in your environment show up on
Mm.
Shodan. So I'll
Mm.
repost it just for you, but it's a
Right.
simple check. Figure out what is your public IP address space, go to Shodan and run a net search on that range, and anything that shouldn't be there should be closed.
Yep, totally agree. I mean, I also heard somebody say that there is a problem that IoT introduces a new problem to the Purdue model.
It does.
Uh,
It does, because like I said, sometimes these IoT devices are designed like a vibration monitoring system. So companies will sell you a vibration monitoring system that will tell you when you need to do maintenance on like a centrifuge, right? You centrifuge running 10, 20, 30,000 RPM. So if anything goes wrong with those bearings, the first thing you notice is some vibration on the centrifuge. So there's companies that will give you a device you bolt onto the side of the centrifuge, and then it starts looking for trembles, and it starts looking for vibration, sends that data up to their clouds, and long term starts trending and say, okay, you're hitting a certain threshold, you're hitting a certain point, now you have to replace your bearings.
Mm.
Again, if there's vendors out there that say you install that, you also have to have our IoT gateway, which connects to our cloud environment.
Wow.
The IoT gateway was never pen tested. They hook it up. Now you're wide open to the internet, which is extra dangerous because the IP address they use, you don't own that IP address. The IP address
No.
is owned by the vibration detection monitoring company, so you don't have it on any books. When you go and you do your Shodan test, it's not going to show up. But if I do a Shodan test for that company, it's going to show up, and all of their customers that they've installed this vulnerable device are wide open to attacks.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Do you think that Europe is solving this by introducing, the NIS2, or the other one, the CPR? I forgot his name.
I'm not up to speed on those.
Because they restrict manufacturers to make their products adhere to the standard before they ship it to Europe. Part of it is the security.
I think that's a fantastic take on it, right? And then the US has had something like that forever. The 62443 2-3, I think, and don't quote me on that, but there's 62443 stipulates that if you're going to sell a PLC, you're going to check this. Does it have a UART port? Is it enabled? If it is enabled, do you really need it? If you really need it, does it have to be an admin? So all of these restrictions and regulations are there in the 62443 and maybe some other standards. It's getting to a point where the customers say, I'm going to buy from a company that's 62443 certified versus one that isn't. Once we start doing that, more and more of these vendors are going to have to adhere to it, or they're not going to sell anymore.
Yeah, especially if it's enforced as well by the government before they import it. That would also help.
Europe has been on the forefront with that, right? The GDPR it was a fantastic step at getting some of these privacy concerns into check. I'm pretty sure this is going to help their cybersecurity, OT cybersecurity, a lot over the long run.
Nice. You made me remember something when you said you don't own the cloud, you don't own the IP. I mean, that's connected to the cloud for collecting data. Also, there is a current problem in the IT, especially that the companies that offer managed service for SOC, they said some of them were related to North Korean.
Yeah.
that you gave your data willingly to people you don't know who is running the SOC, and they found out that some of them were like North Korea, for example.
Yep.
What do you
It's
think? Do you think it's a good idea to hire these services, the SOC?
well, I'm gonna have to say yes to that. I work for from what I one of the few OT based OT centric SOCs in the US. So
All right.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But do your due diligence. Make
Yeah.
sure you know who you're signing a contract with, right? So uh, outsourcing it to a company that is not in the same country as you are is always risky, right? Look at the reputation, make sure that this company's been around, there are solid certification, they are known in the industry. So do your due diligence on
Yeah.
this. But in the end, we're only as good as the day we're having, right? I know people who are cybersecurity experts and they get duped by somebody pretending to be an applicant for a job opening, and they advertently hired some North Korean hacker into their company. It can happen to the best of us.
Yeah. I said it happened to security companies, like you
It
said.
happened to the best of us.
Oh man. What's your view now on LinkedIn currently? Do you think it's changed? Same as used to be?
I'm still using it the way I've always had. So
Yes.
I'm not paying for any of their services. I think it's become a fantastic resource for not only information and job stuff. Uh, yeah, I don't see a big change in it. Just try to keep most of your sensitive information off of it because they're known to be compromised and they've known to have data leaks. So
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Do you think OSINT is important in OT security as well? Like
the what?
OSINT, the open source intelligence.
Um,
Do you use it when you do some
yes.
pen testing or whatever?
But
Or,
I outsource most of the OSINT, so I'll get large feed OT security information, and then we turn that into cyber intelligence by making it relevant for particular clients or particular industries.
okay. Do-
But yeah,
yeah.
besides our red team red team
Yeah.
engagements, we're not using OSINT as in, hey, we're gonna look at this particular company and we're gonna find everything out to the last little bit.
So there isn't checking if they have exposed OT or you don't do that. Or
I gotta think about this.
Mhm.
We do what is it called? Eh, I'm drawing a blank. Hold on.
Yeah, it's all right. It will come.
Oh yeah, we do. Oh yeah, we do attack service management. So we have a service where
That's
you
the one.
say this is our public IP address space. This is all the URLs. This is the
Yeah.
all of the Microsoft services we use, and we have a service that will keep our eyes on it. If anything changed, like for example, all of a sudden one of your IPs in your IP block spun up an HTTP port, we get a notification and we share that and we remediate or we help them make sense of it. So we'll
All
do
right.
that. And that's more on the IT side. Although if we're looking at the OT on their IP block, if there's anything OT popping up, then it's of course we're gonna jump on that as well.
And you do incident response as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Because while I was reading your book about threat hunting, you've described some digital forensic stuff about how to identify, analyze the memory, the malware, stuff like that. Do you think they are still in demand in the market? These skills, digital forensic, and
Absolutely, more and more. The more we look, the more we're
mm,
gonna find, the more incident
mm,
responders we're gonna need, right? And you have incident responders are really good at being on
mm.
site day one when it happened. They do the response coordination, but you also have people who are more in the background. They like, I found this malware sample. Can you figure out what it does? So they'll sit in their lab, they will look at the malware, they will look at all the imports, they will look at all the actions it does, and I go back and like, okay, this is what's happening. How does that correlate to your environment you're in? So do you have those people as well? But yeah, that's various roles in incident response that I'm thinking going to get more and more in demand. The more and more we're going to discover what's really happening in our industrial control systems.
Yeah, I thought so because those the people who expose what's hidden and what even the company don't know about,
Yep.
and
Well,
it's good data. It's good data for us.
yeah, and I've been in several engagements where we went from having nothing to installing a network security monitoring solution like a Clarity or a Nozomi or a Dragos, right? And then the first day you'd be surprised at the things it finds, where you'd be like, oh my God, we still have configure on the network. We have people going to torrent. We have this going on. So yeah, you
Wow.
don't know what you don't know until you start looking for it, and then you better be ready to do something about it too.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to, I had an interview with Sinclair. You know Sinclair,
Yeah.
and he said from his experience, he saw so many malware and viruses and many, and they kept them. He said some of them, if they don't cause harm, they were kept.
No, a colleague of mine always refers to this when we're having this conversation. He says, "In on the IT side, you have 0 days. On the OT side, we have forever days, right? If you have
Nice one.
configure running all over the place in an environment that's 24/7 running, right? Maybe one day a year you get some downtime, and you don't want to spend it on trying to get configure. It's not going to do anything anyway, right?
Mm.
It's not going to interrupt it. So they will keep running with that until they get a chance to replace the device that's on there. And I've seen that with even with WannaCry. It'd be like, yep, we know there's WannaCry on there. We can't get to that part of the environment because we're running 24/7. If we shut it down, a whole state is going to go without gas or whatever that looks like. So we're just going to let it run because we have the mitigations in place that it's not going to go to encryption.
All right. So, how could somebody want to get into digital forensic in OT? How could he learn this stuff? I mean, does it is it hard?
Um, there's a lot of resources out there now that will take the latest and greatest OT malware attacks and
Wow.
and will get you through the process of defining, reverse engineering, and identifying that stuff.
Wow.
Dragos comes to mind. They always have these fantastic publications around the latest malware they
Okay.
discover, stuff like that. There's a service, there's a website called Malware Traffic Analysis, not
Okay.
particularly always just for OT,
Yeah.
although you can find some of them. But there's articles on there that give you a PCAP, they give you some artifacts, and they tell you now figure out what happened, and then they give you the solution as well. It's really nice if you want to get up to speed with PCAP analysis and stuff.
Nice. Cool, man. I mean, thank you for your time today. I mean, we've
Of
covered so
course.
many technical topics and about you and the market. I don't want to really to keep you for long. I mean, we've been now 1 hour and 20 minutes.
That's
Uh,
long enough.
so, do you go to to Netherlands or not anymore?
Uh,
You know.
it's been a few years. So my direct family, they moved to Norway a couple years ago. So if I do go that way, it's typically Norway. Although I just planned a trip to the Netherlands, just to go see some friends and family, and then of course after that I'll go to Norway on the way out. But yeah, that's going to be the first time in probably 10 years that I've been back to the Netherlands.
Oh, nice. Nice. And anything you would like to say before we wrap it up?
No, I think I've said it all. Like I said, an hour and 20 minutes already.
Oh yeah, thank you for really sharing this with us, and thank you for finally finding you.
And thank you for not giving up on me.
Yes, my pleasure. We don't give up on people
That's
like
good.
you.
That's
I
good.
mean, who's doing very good for the community. And thank you for being patient with us. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed listening to Pascal and learned something. And if you have any question, you can ask me or drop him a message. He's in LinkedIn if he's willing to
No,
take.
absolutely.
Yes,
Sometimes I get overwhelmed with messages, so it might take
I'm
a
sure.
minute to respond, but I always
Yes,
respond, man. I love giving back. When I first started, like I said, early 2000, when I first started, I relied on community and more so once LinkedIn and all of these things came in and I had a common place where a lot of these people started to talk about it. I took a lot from the community. It's time to give back.
yes. Thank you, thank you. So I will be sharing his LinkedIn in the description. Guys, take care and see you next time. Bye bye.